Okay, so hello, good afternoon. Today will be my last video of this semester on introductions to international relations. And this video kind of summarize all of our discussions during this semester, starting from what is international relations until some of the global issues that we just talk in the class or online classes. Okay, so but before I start discussing in more detail, so let me start with saying thank you for being with me or having me in the class. It's an honor to have learning experience together with all of you. I hope it's also bring beneficial experience for you, and this will become good foundations. This course will be good foundations, strong foundations for all of you to continue to explore and your continue your journey in international relations. So this is, as we know, the title is Introduction to International Relations. So this course is basically is the most fundamental course in this, what's it, you call it, in the major or in the study program. So from here, you will go further discussing on the security issues, on the diplomacy, on global trade, and a lot of global issues in the upcoming semesters. Let me just summarize from the by using the syllabus that we agreed upon it, and then we'll see which one that we miss, and maybe also some part that I want you to underline and highlight and keep in your memory. So let me share the okay. Okay, so as we know that Introduction to International Relations, this is the basic course for you to go on understanding many aspects of international relations, from theories, international conflict, war, and peace, and also in terms of international cooperations in form of trade from international institutions or organizations. Okay, so from here, I hope that you get exposed to the different view of international relations in some of the theories. And then from that, you understand that the most important aspect that we discuss in IR is, as let me quote Gilpin again, Robert Gilpin, we study about war and trade, because this is the main activities of the states, the thing that states do. And but doesn't mean that we only study that. With a lot of globalizations, a lot of issues become very important, and global issues, just like what we experience today, related to the global health of coronavirus. But yeah, this is the one that we planned before. So I want you, I wanted that we start from very basic understanding what is international relation is, but then continue with theories, and then continue with several aspects of international relation, from foreign policy, international governance, and then go on the specific global issues or contemporary issues. So let me go to the, okay, so please check again your syllabus, make sure that you fulfill all the requirements, so then you will get the maximum point for these classes. Okay, so let me, okay. So the first time we meet, I present to you with the syllabus and underline in terms of the, so what is okay, international relations? Some use the international studies, others use global politics. For me, basically, this is referred to the same phenomenon in terms that the global relations before when we talk about relations in a global level, we talk about state. That's why we call it international relations, international. So nation, state is the main actors. We talk about war in terms of the relation between state in a conflict. We talk about trade because it's the relation between state during peacetime. But also we have global organizations, institutions. We have UN, we have WHO, we have ASEAN regional, we have European Union. So those are the things that we discuss in international relations. By using global politics here, I want to kind of highlight the changes in terms of the many actors being involved currently beside states. Now we know a lot of non-state actors become very influential, whether they are organizations, whether they are NGOs, whether they are individuals. Now with the increasing globalizations, the intensification of globalizations, those non-state actors are in some ways are quite more important than states, but doesn't mean that state disappears or diminishing in some of their roles. What I'm understanding of the current development is there is a lot of transformations about the roles of the state and also other actors. So this is the one reason why I use global politics here, but again, basically this is the same. And after you understand what is international relations, so we have what we call it tools, and we have what we call it the thing that we study. When we talk about international relation as a tool, so it means that we talk about perspective, about approach, about theory. So this is the thing that we discuss after some meeting in terms of we talk about realism, liberalism, and critical theories. So this is what I said in terms that international relation as a tool to understand. But we also see international relations as the object itself. So what is the thing that we study here? So we study about history of the global politics. We study about foreign policy. We study about global and regional governance. We talk about some of the issues, global issues. So this is international relation as an object of study. So remember, there are two things when I talk international here. So international relations as a tool. So we talk about theories, and the second is international relations as an object of the study. So we talk about issues, about topics. This is the one that we discussed. And we studied the history, so we cannot understand the current situations, current global system without understanding how it came into being. So there's the books clearly discuss long historical process of how this state system evolved. But I want you to really put note on the importance of the Westphalia Accord that has become our foundations in terms of understanding the relation of the state. Why? Because this is the starting point for the ideas of state sovereignty, meaning that states have equal right to rule their own territory. And although we understand that states are different in terms of their capability, power, resources, but in theory, because of this sovereignty, so they are equal, meaning that theoretically no states allowed to intervene. So there's no interventions in terms of international relations. So this basic norm, basic understanding, basic concept of sovereignty is the underlying underlying concepts that become the foundation for international relations. Without understanding about sovereignty, without understanding about non-interventions, so basically there's no international relation, so it can become the same as sociology. It can become just the understanding of intercultural relations, because there's no concept of state sovereignty and non-intervention. So this concept is still important until today, until the present time. So we don't know in the future if all are evolving and changing. So that means that maybe the name of international relations will become irrelevant, and we need to put a better, appropriate understanding of that. But for today, so this is the main ideas of international relations from historical point of view. So Westphalia Accords, and then from that we have the understanding of sovereignty, state as a unit of actors, and the non-intervention as a norm. So from that, we move to the discussion of theories. So realism, liberalism, and critical theories. So of course, if you go deeper in your learning in terms of international relations, IR theories is not only these three. So we have plenty of theories, but in general, this is like the main theories that we have in IR. And the most important differences is in terms of, okay, so from both realism and liberalism focus on state, but the difference is, while the realism see the state as the main actors and the main, or probably some of these only important actors in the what you call it, in the international relations, and liberalism accommodate different kind of roles from different actors. But like the main philosophical difference from these two is how realism, the main tenets is the nature of the state relation is a conflict. So because states are concerned about themselves, about their security is the main issues here. So it's state tend to maybe whether they are try to become unilateral actors, or maybe there will be more conflicts. So realism are very useful to understand conflicts and wars in some of these. Liberalisms focus more with their understanding about the nature of the state. So they believe, or they argue basically that because of their understanding of state tend to have cooperations, because they will calculate the benefit, the cost and benefit, and the benefit, according to liberal theory, basically outweigh the cost of creating conflict. So this is of course there's many differences in more detail, but if you try to highlight the relative gains and absolute gains, relative gains of realism, understanding that because of the relations will create a gap between the outcome of the relationship between states. So state will always see what they gain from the cooperation or the relationship compared to others who has the relationship, and this will always create conflict, disagreements, and envy or something like that. Liberalism, on the other hand, focus on all absolute gains, meaning that the state always compare prior to cooperations and after the cooperation. So is it better off they do cooperations rather than not doing cooperation at all? And state will outweigh mostly in terms to the cooperations. Critical theories focus more on different aspects of that. So that's why they call it critical, meaning that they provide alternative theories, seeing from structural theory, focusing on how the exploitative relations between state. The feminist theories focus on the role of gender in the international interrelation of state. Constructivists seeing how the role of ideas. So all are different theories. Actually, it's not really suitable to put them in the one place as a critical theories. But for now, just for your understanding, it just to show that different theories that have very different ontological understanding with realism and liberalism, because they see of how the actor perspective, understanding, idea, conceptual is influencing in terms of relationship. It's probably a little bit philosophical and difficult for you, but for critical theories, you will find that there's environmental theories of IR, feminist theories, constructivist, structuralist, Marxist. Those focus not seeing the relationship only on the material aspect of the relationship, whether in the GDP, power or state, in some of the what you call it, the forces, military forces, I think, but seeing on how ideas, gender, environmental, was idea of the class relations and some of the pro-Jewish or proletariat actually shape the relationship. So that's why they call it a critical theory, because they criticize both realism and liberalism, not only in terms of their answers, but also they criticize in some where this theory start their arguments, meaning their the understanding of what is real and not real. So this is the critical theories. So this is basically we start with very basic understanding how the international relations start, and then the development of different theories, and then how we use that. Okay, we talk about foreign policy. So diplomacy is indeed the main core or the core of international relations. So that's why a lot of people always presume that, okay, so if you graduate from international relations departments, so you will go on foreign policy or set the unit, the foreign minister or foreign ministry, become diplomat, because yeah, this is traditionally how people end up after they graduate from international relations. So initially, the international relations department is very exclusive, meaning that they train people to become diplomat. But now, because of a lot of issues come and become importance, and we need a lot of people who has profound understanding of the international process, international systems in many different sectors, in business, in social, also in government. So it's not only, however, foreign policy is the main aspect that you will study in the upcoming years. You will discuss about diplomacy, security. We will discuss about culture, diplomacy, public diplomacy. All are part of the foreign policy. And the foreign policy, in this case, I just want to highlight that this is a tool for countries to achieve their national interests. So in foreign policy, you need to understand the basic aspect of foreign policy is national interest. So there's no foreign policy without understanding what is the national interest is. So, and of course, back to the theory, all theory will give different answer in terms of what is national interest, with the nature of national interest. But you start for your foreign policy with first understanding what is the national interest of, for example, like Indonesia. So what's the national interest of Indonesia? And then you continue to how strategy, the way, whether you put carrots as a kind of incentive for people to support you, or you use stick in terms of punishments, economic coercions, or war to force other to support you, but all of the actions basically is a way, foreign policy is a way to achieve your national interest. So this is the main things that I want you to underline, put it in your note, put it in memories, your dream in terms of what is national interest should be you understand very well, because this is the thing that the national relations students study in the first day of their learning process, so foreign policy. And then next, when we talk about international relations, there's no, not only states, so the other actors that also very important is global and regional organization or institutions, or we call it governance. Governance means that because of the nature of international system, which is not hierarchical in terms of the structures, just like in domestic countries. So governance more on the how the rules, regulation are being agreed voluntarily and that they implement voluntarily. So there is no super nation or super state that enforce the rules or the agreements that being agreed upon. So that's why we call it UN, United Nations, European Union, ASEAN is a governance, because at the end of the day, whether the state will obey or they do the agreement is come back to the state again, because there's no other institution that can enforce. Of course, in the reality, some countries can use different ways, some other actors can use different ways to force some state to obey or to follow the agreements, but theoretically, again, states are sovereign, so they cannot be forced to comply with the rules or agreements in the global or regional governance. But here you will study in the upcoming semester, you study ASEAN as the main institutions in our region, so these ASEAN nations associations. And then you also learn about European Unions, you learn about United Nations, because this is the main organization or institutions in international relations. Okay, so we don't have time to discuss about several activities that to kind of implement our understanding. So then after we understand that, we talk some of the global issues. Okay, so the most important issues we start with is global security, military power, and terrorism. In here, we try to understand what does it mean by security, military power, and terrorism, and if you are going to the defense concentrations, you will deal a lot with these issues. The thing is, the one that I want to highlight here is how the continuous change in terms of the security aspect, that initially we talk about security in terms of state securities between borders, but now with increasing activities of non-state actors from terrorists, criminal organizations, that we need to revise of our understanding of security. So meaning that to have national security is not sufficient to rely only on the military power. We need to have other resources in terms of human resources, education, a lot of aspects, because now the security issue is cyber security problems, drugs, illicit economy, what else? Virus, just like we see nowadays, is a security threat. And next, when we talk about human rights and human securities, so the main questions that starting the discussion about human rights and human security is, so we understand the meaning of security, But then the question is for whom? So is security is for state or is for the people or the individual. So the constant debate between groups or between people, between scholars in terms of emphasizing on these two main recipient of security that create the tension between understanding about national securities and human securities that grow into our understanding of human rights. So this starting point, because we know or based on historical fact that contrary to our understanding that state is the primary actor to give the security to the people, indeed in history we see that state a lot of state, many state actually indeed is the one that create insecurity to their people. So that's why we talk about human rights and human security. We jump to other issues that also same importance and same old in the international relations is trade, international trade and finance. So here I want you to learn more, understand about how trade are being managed, finance being managed through particularly after World War II with the Bretton Woods institutions. Those are institutions that are important and determining in terms of why some countries are successful or not. And those all debates are around these institutions. And so please understand of Bretton Woods roles, institution of WTO, why we have WTO in the first place. We have also the IMF, the World Bank. So what is the role? What are the roles of those institutions and why we have that? And what is the impact on the relation between state, between the relations between state in terms of power and also in terms of wealth? And we go more on very specific issues that not only state are being involved here, but also we talk about environmental issues and also global health that we experience today. So the true cause, the movie show us and how our decisions with a lot of with the globalization of force, that our decision indeed influence a lot of aspect of our human life in terms of the protecting the planet, the wealth of the people, or are interrelated. So our decisions to wear certain clothes or not using certain clothes actually influence the well-being of the people and also the well-being of the environment. So the main message that I want you to take away from this discussion of environmental issues is because you are international relations students, so it means that you need to be aware in terms of the way you consume, being as a consumers, not only that you just do what you want, but also you need to be aware what is the impact of your consumption. So this is the important aspect that will differentiate the students that study international relations with the people that's just common people. That I hope you will take this message seriously, because the well-being on the planet is at stake right now. So that's why we need to become the forefront in these discussions in the protections of the environment, preservation of the environment. So this is the one class we have a chance to talk about global health. So as we experience currently that how just a tiny or say a virus that we cannot see, we cannot feel, but is indeed influencing economy, influencing the people, and we have to do this study from home, learning from home, work from home, just because some things that things that very tiny thing. And but this virus COVID-19 is not only damaging in terms of our health, but as we see evolving, its economy is also being or said kind of damaged by this. A lot of people out of works, a lot of companies go bankrupt, countries have to spend more budget on that. So global health is also very important issues on here. So again, so let me just highlight in terms, again, the whole structure of this course is, okay, I want you to understand what the international relations is at the first place, and then you study about the tools that we use, it means the theory that we use, and then we move on to the object that we are discussing from making foreign policy, regional governance, and other global issues. But don't worry if you still have some missing part here. So this is your foundations that you will build brick by brick with other courses in the upcoming semesters. Then I hope that it will give you a good starting point that later on you can build upon it. Okay, so I think that's the main things that I want to share in this summary. Again, thank you very much for being with me in this introductions to international relations class. Don't forget to finish your, submit your presentation, video presentation, for those of whom that not yet doing presentation prior to the PSBB or the lockdown. So please still have maybe 1 or 2 days to submit your video presentations on the image of globalizations. And then finally, okay, you still have 1 week to finish your final exam. And that's it. So, okay, so stay safe and stay healthy. Okay.